Going on, Jerome's Minnesota Fighting Vikings defense had a stunning debut week 1 against the Giants. Yes, it's Daniel Jones, but anytime you go on the road and allow the other team to have zero goose egg, DeAndre Russell touchdowns, you have 2 interceptions, you have 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and a coterie of pressures. You feel pretty good about things. And Brian Flores unleashed hell, and if you're not first, you're last. Lots of NASCAR packages against the Giants. It really did like that. And now you got the San Francisco 49ers coming up on the schedule. Going to be tough as hell, especially that run game, whether it's McCaffrey or Jordan Mason, doesn't really matter. But Flores is certainly looking forward to the challenge as well as this defense. And he fed the local media jackals today. Also, I like that shirt. I got to get me the shirt. The hat is fantastic as well. I feel like, so hat model power rankings, you have Kevin O'Connell. Flores is up there too. Coach Hat, surprisingly, comes in 3rd. Then Phillips generally doesn't wear a hat. He's wearing a hat today. Yeah. So Flores said a lot of things. This was an extended press conference. We're going to go through a couple of things and thoughts and blah, blah, blah. So first up, very happy for Harrison Phillips and his extension. Talked about how Harry is a leader, getting paid, getting taken care of. It's fantastic. Good win on Sunday. Tough to win a game on the road in the National Football League. Doesn't matter if it's the Giants or not. I know that people want to poo-poo. Well, it's the Giants. Could have lost. Could have had a very close game. Could have not pulled away in the second half. Could have been a lot of things. But he talked about that performance of the defense as the end result of a lot of good practices, good training camp, good preparation, and hopefully that will continue throughout the season. Also, Harrison Phillips. So Flores talked a lot about the hub of communication, and it stems from the green dot. So Cashman gets the play call in, they get lined up, and then once the offense shows their hand, there's alerts and checks and all that stuff. And generally, defensive linemen aren't in on that communication. But talking about Harrison Phillips, like to jump in of what's going on in the periphery with the secondary from the defensive line, which is kind of funny, man. But it also just shows a full understanding of the defense. And, a lot of defensive linemen is like, hey, this is my role, this is my gap, this is what I'm doing. And it really does fall more to the linebackers and secondary of getting things lined up and understanding the full defense. But Phillips does that. Also talked about how, building relationships with the team and the locker room and building up the camaraderie. I mean, that's why Harrison Phillips is the team captain, and he's been a leader ever since he got here. 49ers, I said it doesn't really get more challenging. Showed them their respect and gave them their flowers. Reigning, defending NFC title champions, Super Bowl appearances the last couple of years. They're a tough, physical team, skilled position players everywhere, and also talked about how they're the best run-after-catch team in the National Football League. So Brock Purdy is never beating these allegations. Also talked about how a lot of the players on the offense are positionless. Like McCaffrey is just as good of a running back as he is a receiver. Debo's a running back, basically. Kittle can split out. Used, check, it can be all over the place, too. Ayuk obviously can play the X or the Z. So, I mean, there's a lot of skill players that the Vikings have to keep tabs on for Sunday. And also, whether McCaffrey is playing on Sunday or not, I mean, Jordan Mason, tough either way. Jordan Mason's a freaking sledgehammer, man. It's actually really fun to watch him run. Also, you stress versatility on key players on defense. Shout out Metellus, Van Ginkel, and JG, and Harrison Smith, etc. Plus, showed some love to assistants, talking about the process of game planning. Shouted out DJ, secondary coach Durante Jones, Mike Saravo, linebackers coach, as well as Pett, assistant head coach / outside linebackers coach of the season, Mike Pettin. And also, he said that Kevin O'Connell had a couple ideas about the defense for the Giants, and they actually implemented them. So Kevin O'Connell, defensive guru, and Flores said something that Kevin O'Connell says all the time. I don't care where a good idea comes from, and I think that speaks volumes about the lack of ego in the building. Of course, everyone has egos, but putting the ego in check and putting the team first, that's what needs to happen, man. Also, Andrew Van Ginkel, hero of the Giants game. Of course, he was with Flores in Miami, and he talked about how when AVG was coming out of Wisconsin, AVG initially started out at South Dakota and then played a year at a community college and then went to the Badgers. whatever for 2 seasons, but fast, tough, slippery style of play that they liked, as well as he only played 2 seasons of D1 football, so a little bit raw, but they liked what they could mold, and he certainly has turned himself into a player. Also, speaking of raw, so Diamond Dallas Turner, got a sack, got 3 tackles, fistful of pressures in his debut. Flores said that he played pretty well. The moment wasn't too big for him, and also I think that Turner, playing at Alabama, being a 3-year starter, being in some big-time games when he was there, I mean, that certainly helps. Also, he's getting a better feel for, running games up front, and his sack did come off of a game with him and Hottie Ward running a little T&E stunt, but also setting up tackles, dealing with chips, all these things that he's going to have to deal with in the National Football League. So, Diamond Dallas Turner's growing and showing, plus pace. So, I'm starting to be concerned about Ivan Pace Jr. Like, maybe he's too fired up. Like, I'm not ready to say that he's going to be Vontaze Burfict out there, because he's not, but I don't know. But he talked about how Pace is just a guy that shows up in a physical, violent way. Mentioned violent several times, and we're going to need that with the run fits against the Niners on Sunday. Also, how he's developing as a communicator. Did great wearing the green dot last year, and also, like, you tell, like, the green dot thing is really important to Pace because he wants to be that communicator, he wants to be that leader, and in terms of, so he was asked directly if he ever has to calm Ivan Pace Jr. down, and then Flores had a great answer. He's like, I have to calm myself down. It's football. But he said this about Pace, quote, "You'd rather have to say whoa than sick 'em," in terms of the demeanor of players. And he called that one a Mike Tomlin special. Of course, Flores, after he got axed in Miami, wrongfully, by the way, he spent a year as linebackers coach with Mike Tomlin with the Steelers before becoming DC here in Minnesota last season. Also, the communication hub that he kept referring to a lot. So basically, once the call comes in, Harrison Smith is the one who's in charge of seeing if there's going to be an alert and making that alteration, and then the communication trickles down from there. So interesting look inside the process for the defense. Plus, we talked about how Kevin O'Connell mentioned that the ref came over and said, your entire defensive staff is in the end zone celebrating after the AVG pick 6, which is great. But Flores specifically tells the players, when you make a play, go out there and celebrate. And it just shows like how tight-knit, how fun this defensive group is, and how glad they are to play together, which is really fantastic. Asked about Aaron Jones, he said that, I'm glad that he's on our team. And also, this is an interesting perspective. So he called Aaron Jones a defensive player because when Jones is out there, gashing defenses for 6-8 yards of carry, moving the sticks, keeping the Vikings offense on the field, the defense is over there resting and game planning. Is like, hey, you're basically a member of the defense, man. It's awesome. Asked about the key to 4-man rushes, good players. and that's really it too, where I love me Danielle Hunter forever, but the pass rush simply was not efficient last year, and also they got next to nothing in terms of a pass rush from the D-line, but hopefully that's going to be changing this year because we said this ad nauseum, like being able to rush 4 and get pressure with 4 and drop 7, that's the ultimate ultimate competitive advantage. Also, talk about Jonathan Grenard's inside-outside versatility created havoc. So 2 players basically had blanks in the stat sheet. Jonathan Grenard had 0 tackles, 0 sacks. Same thing with Kayvon Thibodeau, 0 tackles, 0 sacks. But there's a stark difference between their games. Like, rewatch the whole thing. Grenard was creating havoc. He was getting pressure inside-outside. He ended up with 5 pressures. Thibodeau only had 1 pressure. And Grenard was doing it all over the formation in the A-gap, B-gap, outside on the edge, doing a lot of things. So, like, I know the people poo-poo was like, oh, you're paying Grenard all this money and you got 0 set. Yeah, just give it time. Just give it time. Like, do you think that the Vikings were able to sack Daniel Jones 5 times just because those guys made superhero plays? The guy that got sacks? No. Sack should be a team stat, but I understand why it isn't. But, 5'8" was definitely out there. Bringing it, man. But that's it. Brian Flores, supersized presser after the Vikings win against the Giants. Looking ahead to the 49ers game. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, his thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.